Today we're going to discuss far less dramatic, but way more often occurring case when pharmaceutical companies are balancing on the verge of ethical norms. Pharmaceutical companies do not patent bottles with a prepared medicine. No, they patent molecules. Carbon, an element that we all know in chemistry marked by letter C. Carbon always has 4 connections. If we attach hydrogen to each of the connections, we get methane. The connections can be put on this way, but they can also be this way. The important is that there are 4. If one atom of carbon connects to another atom of carbon, and both of them connect to atoms of hydrogen, we have another material called acetylene. So you see, just by changing the connections, not the elements themselves, we have a very different material. Even if we do not change the connections, but instead of one element we put another, for example, instead of hydrogen we put oxygen and hydrogen, we now have an alcohol, not the one that we would like to drink in the evening, and that is again a totally different material. The example we have just discussed is an example of small, simple molecules. But the molecules that pharmaceutical companies are patenting have dozens, even hundreds of connections. And so each variation of a connection, an addition of a different element, might or might not change the qualities of a potential drug. It might be more stable, it might have less side effects, it might be more effective, or not. And so pharmaceutical companies, as always, they're being smart and strategic, and they patent as many variations as possible, because that allows them first to prevent competitors from developing something similar to them. Second of all, it's a way of prolonging patent. Once you patent a molecule, the patent lasts 20 years. And imagine that right at the end of the patent, when generic companies are about to enter, you find a way how to patent a new variation of that same molecule and develop a drug that supposedly is more effective than the previous one, and voila! You have again 20 years of market that no one else can enter in. Let's look at the examples to be very clear about what we mean. Zidovudine was a drug invented in the last century for drug treatment, and it was a rather unsuccessful drug. After the patent expired and a little bit of time passed, it was realized that actually this drug is effective in treating HIV. And so the company patented the same exact drug anew for now another purpose, which was not cancer but HIV, and got a new 20-year-long patent. That was good because the company was incentivized to finish up the clinical trials to prove safety and effectiveness of the drug treating HIV, and in return it was rewarded with a market share. Another more illustrative case, I would say, is that of Provigil. In 2001, the drug Provigil for sleeping disorders was about to expire. The creator of Provigil came up with a second generation Provigil, which they claimed is more effective and more efficient, and thus gained a new patent lasting until 2015. However, generic companies said that they will enter in 2006 because they claimed that the new generation Provigil is not actually an invention. There should be no patent for it because there was no inventive step performed in order to come up with this new drug. And this is a gray area where usually a judge decides whether it was an invention or not, and therefore whether you can break the patent law or not. The creators of Provigil had an intuition that they are soon to launch the third generation of the drug that will truly be more efficient. And so they asked the generic companies to not enter the market yet until 2012 and proposed to pay them $200 million. Not much, not little. And yes, generic companies accepted the deal. And indeed, in 2007 appeared a new version of Provigil, which was Nuvigil. And that was indeed more efficient, more effective, and so on. Now, the company had 6 years to really push harsh the marketing and establish Nuvigil in comparison to Provigil when the competitors will be coming in 2012. And this is exactly what they did. They went to the doctors, they explained the effectiveness, the how better is the drug, and so on and on and on. And by the time 2012 arrived, the generic companies had not much to do because the drug was not anymore interesting for the market. And the patent of Nuvigil is now lasting until 2023. To wrap up, pharmaceutical companies are trying to patent as many things as possible around one single molecule. It's called patent thickets, patent layering. And it might be good if it incentivizes companies to create more efficient and effective drugs, but many times it actually impedes the creation of drugs by other pharmaceutical companies and also doesn't allow the generic entry, which would make drugs more cheap, more accessible, and so on. This was a third video of Naughty Pharma. I hope you enjoyed. If you're interested in more cases or other topics about health economics, please do check my vlog in YouTube called Vaiskus Dangus. Otherwise, see you next time.